Here's your business podcast with Frank Furness.
Right, the first step of the sales cycle is prospecting, actually finding people that you want to sell to. And there's many ways that we could find new clients. And, sometimes we've got a cold call. And if we're going to cold call, we've got to put ourselves in the right state of mind, because I've been with so many companies and they know it's cold calling time. And this is what happens. Hi, this is Frank Furness. Can I come and see you? No. Hi, this is Frank Furness. Can I come and see you? No. Hi, this is Frank Furness. You don't really want to see me today, do you? And you then start putting on the computer, doing emails, shuffling papers, doing all of the things that you shouldn't be doing. So cold calling is almost getting yourself in the right state, getting the right sales scripts, getting everything right before you make those cold calls. What about referrals? We know every time if we just go and see somebody and we can get 2 or 3 referrals, we never need to cold call again. But sometimes we don't put ourselves in the right state, or we don't feel confident enough to ask for those referrals. All we want to do is get the sale and leave immediately. You know what? You've just sold. The client loves you. They think you're wonderful. You've developed great rapport. Isn't this the best time to ask for referrals? There's advertising. You could put in advertising. What about your current clients? You can upsell them. You can cross-sell them. You could also use centers of influence. People that may never be a client of yours, but like you and promote you. The internet is another great way of prospecting. And one of the biggest and best ways, really, is going out and networking. And Ian is going to speak to us a lot more now on that very subject of networking. By the way, if you want to find out more about how to find new clients, give me a shout once again and have a look at my series, Finding New Clients, triple CD. Drop me an email, frank@frankfurness.com. So let's have a look now at prospecting. And Ian, tell us how NLP has an impact on prospecting, and I know specifically networking because you've written that wonderful book, NLP for Networking.
NLP can be used in all parts of the prospecting process, and it can increase the effectiveness dramatically. I've done cold calling like many salespeople, and also like many salespeople, I don't particularly like it, so I've done a certain amount, but the vast majority of sales that I've got is from networking. Broadly speaking, you can generalize every prospecting activity into 2 categories. One way or another, it's cold calling, or one way or another, it's referrals. That's more or less it. So you've got to make a decision right now. Where do you want to spend your time? Most people, cold calling is not as enjoyable as referrals. And there's also a big time efficiency factor. I'll give you an illustrative example. Paradoxically, even though I'm an engineer with a manufacturing background, I mostly teach financial people how to increase their business. So I use an example of selling life insurance policies. So if you're selling life insurance, you've got a simple choice. Either you get a list of names to call and you just go through them saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, can I come and talk to you about life insurance? Well, one way or another, that's what you're saying. And typically you might make 100 calls to make a couple of appointments. And when you make a couple of appointments, there's a certain ratio as to how many of those will transmit into sales. Not very efficient. Also, not very enjoyable for most people. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 people who like that process, but very few.
Very few.
And it's horrifically, and I'm going to say the word again, horrifically time inefficient in comparison to the second scenario. You're in the office. The phone rings you. You pick it up. Guy says, hi, Ian. You don't know me, but I'm a friend of Joe from the golf club, and Joe's just bought a policy off you for his kids, for their education. I'm in a similar situation to Joe. My kids are the same age. Could I come and talk to you because I'm interested in buying the same policy for myself? All you got to do is say, okay, sure. And frankly, so much of the selling has been done by Joe for you over a game of golf. So all you've got to do, frankly, is not screw anything up at this stage and just do a basic interview, get your facts right and say, well, there you go, sign that. So the attraction of networking and building your referral business is astronomically attractive in comparison to everything else.
And now it's time for a word from our sponsor, so listen up.
Hey, yes, it's me back again, Frank. I'm your sponsor, and I want to tell you about a series I've put together. It's actually been 2 years in the making. I have created the biggest online course for financial advisors. If you go and take a look at www www.salesstrategiesforadvisors.com. salesstrategiesforadvisors.com. Please go and take a look at our sales page there. You'll see the course has 281 videos, 106 audios, 12 ebooks, and 7 sets of scripts. And I promise you, you will make 10 times your investment at least in this course. There are so many ideas, every kind of strategy you can think of, new things added all the time. And for actually listening to the podcast, you can actually get 50% off the course. Please don't tell anyone about it. But if you go in to the checkout where it says coupon code, all you do is type in 50OFF, 50 off, and you will immediately get a 50% off the course on the one-off payment. Or, of course, you can opt to pay $29 a month. So, hey, this is Frank. I look forward to seeing you the other side and enjoying my online course. And now, let's get back to our recording.
I'll just quickly talk about cold calling because you might be in the kind of job where you've got to do cold calling. Cold calling, we're back to these two big words in NLP, state and rapport. Before you pick up the phone, get your state right. Now, I'm going to give you a hot NLP tip right now. If you want to change your state, change your physiology. Because what is state? It's a link between your body and your thinking. So if there's a link and you change your body, guess what you're going to do to your thinking? So do loads of if you're on your own, you can do the silly stuff. And I'll give you the silly stuff right now. So if you're working from home, if you've got to make a phone call and you're feeling a little bit nervous, try this out. See if it works for you. Get out of your chair and just jump up and down 3 or 4 times. It looks kind of stupid if there are people watching, but just that I guarantee that will break your state and make you come across differently on the phone.
You know, Ian, that brings me to a point. When I first started in sales, there was a guy called John Fisher who was the top salesperson in our company. And we thought he was mad. He would come into the office every morning and he'd run up and down the passages shouting, "I'm fantastic, I feel good, I'm enthusiastic." And guess what? He made all the calls.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another great tip. This isn't actually NLP, it's more the world of affirmations, but what the heck, if it works, we should include it in this program too, is saying affirmations. Now, my opinion is that affirmations, they work with some people, they don't work with other people. Try them out. Try them out for yourself. By the way, they're free, doesn't cost anything. Anything, say to yourself out loud, "I feel good, I feel great, I'm going to sell." Anything like that, because here's the thing. In terms of the NLP model of your mind operating in 2 modes, consciously and unconsciously, your unconscious mind is listening to everything. So if you say, "I'm going to get that sale, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling better." In fact, the really old one from 1862, I think, the great godfather of autosuggestion, Emile Coué, he found a great one, which if you NLP analyze it, is the old one, "Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better." Now we understand NLP. I can tell you why that works, but for the purposes of speed in this program, just say that. If you're driving along in your car, "Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better," that can improve your state before you pick up the phone. See, if you're feeling nervous before you pick up the phone, or if you're procrastinating, you don't want to pick up the phone, for goodness sake, don't pick up the phone in that state. Do something, anything to change your state. So that's cold calling. Next comes to the gold mine. And by the way, very few people are any good at referrals. This is a terrific piece of good news. Whatever market you're in, whatever product you're in, most people have no idea about how to generate referrals. The few that do it badly. I've seen salespeople come to me halfway through a sales process and they're talking to me and they'll say, "Do you have any referrals for me?" Which, trust me, this is not the best way to ask for referrals, especially if there isn't any rapport. So the first thing about asking for referrals is make sure the rapport is there. I'll give you some practical tips for building rapport. Rapport is vital in any sales process. The objective, I'll just repeat it because it's so important, the objective of the sales presentation in terms of effectiveness is for you to do stuff which has the prospect thinking somewhere in the back of their mind, preferably, out of their conscious awareness, they're thinking, "I like you. And the reason I like you is because you're kind of like me." Another cliche you'll hear in the NLP literature, which I love, people like each other when they are like each other. Similarity sells. In fact, Professor Robert Cialdini, State University of Arizona, published some studies on life assurance salespeople. Similarity in terms of politics, religion, age, smoking versus non-smoking. The more similar the salesperson is to the prospect, the higher the closing ratio. Now, depending on who you are and what your age is, you might not be able to be similar in all of those four that I just mentioned, but the good news is there's a long list of other things that you can be similar. First of all, as we touched on earlier, there's clothing. If you dress the same, it doesn't have to be the same, it just has to be appropriately. In fact, I just want to pick up on something that you said earlier, Frank, about your friend in Hong Kong selling to millionaires. Not all millionaires dress expensively, not all millionaires drive a Ferrari, and not all millionaires go to the expensive clubs. Some do, some don't. In fact, if you read Thomas Stanley and William Danko's book of The Millionaire Next Door, I seem to remember the number 12.5% of millionaires drive ordinary cars that are over 6 years old.
That's an absolutely fascinating book. I'm glad you brought that up, because just think about it. It's the person who started his little business. He's built up this incredible, huge business, but he's still driving the same car, wearing the same clothes. So it's how you can meet those people and develop rapport as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. In fact, if you want a really, really important piece of behavioral flexibility is don't assume. Yeah, you've got to be able to switch your behavior, which includes switching your wardrobe, which is difficult halfway through a sales presentation, I guess. But you've got to be able to know what's going on and spot the clues. There's a lot of millionaires who, would take Sam Walton, for example, 15, 20 years ago? He was the richest man in America, dressed in an ordinary T-shirt and jeans, driving his old 4x4 pickup truck. And he just, it's not that it was such a big deal for him. He just wasn't that interested. And by the way, I can also tell you I've known a lot of people who do wear very expensive suits, designer watches, who I personally know are flat broke. So if you sell to them thinking they're going to be able to buy, you can forget it. You've got to be smarter than that these days. And this is why sensory acuity is a big part of the 5 principles of success. Spot the little clues. Is the person dressed appropriately for what they're doing? Are they coming across as congruent? I do a lot of work in Asia, and trust me on this one, a lot of Asian millionaires wear casual clothes. It's just not on their value system. They're just not that bothered. They're interested in making money, not spending it, which, by the way, is a good way to become a millionaire. So, coming back to building referrals, first of all is the rapport. Like I was saying, if you can build a rapport, people are going to be able to feel comfortable giving you referrals. Let's talk about that for a little bit right now. Think about what you're doing when you're asking for a referral. If you're asking for a referral, then the person you're dealing with is trusting you with their reputation. Do they want to recommend somebody to their friends who their friends are going to spend money with? Their friends might be saying, oh, hang on a second, Fred, why did you recommend that salesman to me? The guy wasn't good. He's going to be spending a little bit of time checking you out. He's probably going to be far more worried about spending a few $100s of his friend's money than spending a few $100s of his own money, because most people get to be great in business because they value their reputation. So the first thing is spending a lot of time getting rapport, understanding rapport.